welcome you all here today for what we believe will be one of many updates during this exciting project. We're proud to have brought together both the development representatives and representatives of many of the government institutions that are the reason why we're here today and why this project is getting so much attention. Mayor Craig Greenberg.
Thank you very much, Tim. It is wonderful to be at the Louisville Gardens, home of my favorite all-time concert experience. Beastie Boys, Licensed to Ill, late 80s, early 90s. That was quite an amazing concert. It's also the home of what inspired me to make the craziest decision of my lifetime, even more crazy than running for mayor of this great city, and that is the Tuesday nights I spent here coming to Louisville Gardens for live professional wrestling that inspired me to get involved as a co-owner of Ohio Valley Wrestling. It all started right here at the Louisville Gardens. And I know that others across the city have equally wonderful memories of this great building. Wonderful times and wonderful things have happened in Louisville Gardens for years. And I am so excited to be here today with my friends who are elected officials, with Mary Kay Poe, with Secretary Knoll, with President Stivers, with Councilman Herndon, with Representatives Whitten and Hawkins and others to talk about the next chapter for Louisville Gardens that is going to make even more memories, not just for people in Louisville, but for people around the world that get to see wonderful productions that were filmed right here in the Louisville Gardens as a result of this amazing development that the team here today is working on. You know, the film industry, the production industry is one of the most exciting new industries that is growing in Kentucky right now. We're seeing it here in Louisville. You're seeing it all around the state. It is generating lots of new jobs, a lot of state revenue. There's a brand new dedicated film office, thanks to the leadership of President Stivers and the General Assembly that passed a new bill, and Governor Beshear, who recently created this new film office here in the Cabinet for Economic Development. Things are happening all around Kentucky. Louisville is becoming a real film city within our great state. We recently hosted several major film productions, and we hope and know that many more are on the way. We were a finalist to become the new home of the Sundance Film Festival, competing with folks all around the world, and we became one of the 6 finalist city. Recently, for the Kentucky Derby, myself and others around the city hosted some of the largest names in the entertainment industry over the Kentucky Derby weekend. And they got to see what all of us here today know and see every day, that Louisville is and always will be a place where stories come alive. And through our world-class arts and culture, through the legends we've produced in sports, music, politics, and entertainment, that reputation is strong. But with this project coming to life, it's only the beginning. And we are so fortunate that thanks to the $100 million that President Stivers, Representative Whitten, Representative Hawkins, and their colleagues allocated in the recent Kentucky General Assembly session for downtown Louisville, $10 million of that is being invested right here in the renovation of the Louisville Gardens. Something big and bold and exciting is happening right here at the Louisville Gardens in downtown Louisville. The Louisville Gardens soundstage is going to take us to the next level. It's going to be a fully operational production studio right here in the heart of downtown, creating high-paying jobs, bringing people from around the world even more than they're already coming. So this will mean that film crews can shoot their entire project right here in Louisville. Again, creating jobs, creating a whole new industry, boosting our economy, filling up our hotel rooms, creating even more busy restaurants than we already have, thriving tourism, and enhancing our image and reputation across the entire world because of what has happened here. So I'm so excited about this project. I'm so excited for the entire city to get an update on where we are. I'm thankful to our partners, Mary Kay Poe, Tony Guanci, and their teams that are making this happen and making it come to life. And I'm especially proud of all of the public partnerships that you've seen work together to make this happen here at Louisville Gardens and that continue to support the production and film industry in Louisville and all across the state. And so now let me introduce one of those partners that is working so hard to ensure that Louisville and all of Kentucky continues to grow as the place to film movies, to film TV series right here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Our Cabinet for Economic Development Secretary, Jeff Knoll. Mr. Secretary.
How's everybody doing? Tony and Mary Kay, what an amazing facility, what an amazing vision, but most importantly, what an important element, an important corner in our great city, and it has a great future. You know, I loved Muhammad Ali. Met him as a young kid, got to meet him when I lived in Michigan, and I loved his famous quote, "Champions aren't made in the ring. Champions have to have something deep inside of them. They have to have a dream, a desire, and a vision." And I would correlate the movement of the arts and the movement of filmmaking in our state using the same words of Muhammad Ali. You've got to have that deep, deep passion inside of you to look at a building like this and see the future. If you're going to be making films and finding ways to create opportunities, you have to have that ability to see things and have a vision to go out and to see things that others do not. I truly believe that thanks to Senator Stivers and others, the ongoing evolution of the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program will help to continue to propel our state. It is the richest, most impactful incentive we have in our cabinet, by far. And so with great opportunity comes great responsibility. And I believe this program will help us grow our workforce in a different way than perhaps you may think in our state. We need the engineers. We need the accountants. They're striving always to find that extraordinary thing that can eventually come together. But I think those that are creative, those that have creative abilities, they help companies, they help industries. But those creative individuals can look out there and create the most extraordinary of opportunities in the most sublime and ordinary of times. An individual like that helps companies grow. An individual like that takes a film producer and creates a tremendous work of art. Whether it was The Great Race years and years ago that was filmed in Kentucky using Barbara Ann School of Dance students out of Eastern Kentucky, opportunities are created if we manage this program the right way. Whether it was John Carpenter making movies and always having a reference to Bowling Green, the eyes of the world got a different perspective of our state. And if you are a Desperate Housewives fan, in the very last show that occurred, Brie Larson, one of the great stars, moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and with this great panoramic view of the river and what looked like this amazing Capitol dome, the narrator said, and she moved to Louisville, Kentucky, and became a legislative member. That's the power of the arts. That's the power of what we have in the Entertainment Incentive Program, and that's the power of why we needed to create the Kentucky Film Leadership Council to help guide this program and to help guide the evolution of the arts and filmmaking in our wonderful state. So I'll simply close by saying, just as Muhammad Ali did, I never wanted to beat someone because I had the vision that I needed a victory. I needed to advance myself. And he said that if I didn't have that deep burning desire to fulfill my vision, I wouldn't spend time in the ring practicing. I wouldn't go through the challenges that I know Mary Kay has had to go through with others to keep the film industry and the film incentive program growing. So for the greatest fighter and maybe one of the greatest, most well-recognized human beings on the face of the earth, let's remember that when we work together, have a passion and have a dream, we can use programs like the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive to help support programs, to help support activities, and we'll be in this facility in years to come, Tony, and there'll be young people being inspired. There'll be people learning their craft. There'll be others moving back from California and others that are from Kentucky to live here. And in the end, we'll create a state known for its creativity and innovation, and that'll help us bring in more jobs, more corporate headquarters, more businesses that rely upon creative talent that can find the most extraordinary of opportunities in that ordinary moment. Thank you all very much. All I had to do was turn and look at Mary Kay and knew I had messed up again. And I mean that with great admiration. She's an amazing leader. She has a tremendous heart. In many ways, what I described about Muhammad Ali, she possesses. And so with Mary Kay Poe, I'd like to come invite you to the podium and thank you for everything you do for our state and for the great community of Louisville.
Yeah, you have to forgive my voice. It's been a little busy lately. I do want to welcome all of you who are here today to experience the vision that is becoming a reality. It may take a lot of imagination to look at our historic Louisville Gardens today and visualize that soon it will be a state-of-the-art production facility that will be bustling with lights, camera, and so much action. To help you on this journey, I'll give you some background on what got us to this place today. And you'll see that thanks to all the people who are standing up here, we are well on the road to realizing the grand vision of creating a new industry in Louisville and across our entire Commonwealth. The film industry is supported like a three-legged stool. The first leg is a strong tax incentive for production. And in 2022, our Kentucky legislature passed 30 to 35% refundable tax credit to encourage narrative, documentary, and reality media projects to use Kentucky as a filming location. Since then, Kentucky has seen an economic impact of over $200 million, according to a study conducted by University of Louisville earlier this year. This was accomplished with no state film office and no budget for marketing Kentucky to the industry worldwide. This past legislative session, Senate Bill 1 was passed with nearly unanimous bipartisan approval, creating a one-stop shop that will facilitate productions filming in Kentucky. With the creation of this bill, Kentucky will have the human and financial resources necessary to lead the industry and let it know that Kentucky is open for business, showcase our beautiful and diverse locations, and assure the industry that our incentives are supported by state government and that it's safe to bring your investment here. The second leg of the stool is infrastructure. If you build it, they will come is not just a quote from a famous movie. Knowing that the industry follows the incentives, Sylmar Studios of California had the vision to create a production hub in the center of Kentucky's largest city. While it would have been faster, easier, and more cost-effective to find vacant land and construct a new building, the Sylmar Group shared Mayor Greenberg's and President Stiver's vision of a revitalized downtown Louisville and committed not only to breathe new life into this historic icon, but to use it as a catalyst to ignite the growth of a vibrant industry that employs a wide range of occupations, including creative, technical, professional, skilled, and semi-skilled talents. All that will work together not only just to make movies, but spark a community where people will live and work and where local businesses will thrive. With a studio of this size, Louisville can attract larger budget motion pictures and series from major studios. That brings us to the third leg of the stool that supports the film industry, a well-trained workforce. The partners of Louisville Studios have already spent over a year meeting with educators and our stellar established crew across the state to begin building a pipeline of workers in all the sectors I just named. It takes over 100 people to create even a modest budget movie. The next time you watch a film, wait at the end and sit for about 10 or 20 minutes after the movie. Pay attention to that long list of names that scrolls rapidly across the screen. Those are the names of carpenters, sound engineers, scoring composers, editors, set designers, electricians, lighting technicians, caterers, hair and makeup artists, wardrobe consultants and costumers, accountants, distributors, graphic artists, and so many more who were vital to getting that project up on the screen. Louisville Studios will foster these careers by providing a workplace that facilitates high-paying full-time jobs so that our best talent can work where they live without having to leave home to make a career in the film industry. We envision Louisville becoming a beacon for those in the industry who want a warm, welcoming place to come home, build a house, and raise a family. So you see, as far as we've come, the vision continues to grow. Atlanta is now known for its vibrant film production. In 2012, when its incentive was the same age ours is now, they conducted a study to see if they could support a fourth soundstage. Today, there are over 300 stages in Atlanta with an economic impact exceeding $8 billion. So, in Kentucky so far, we've had production in over 80 of our 120 counties. So it's an industry that bridges the urban and rural divide, which you know is very important to Mayor Greenberg and President Stivers. Louisville Studios has opportunities to expand throughout downtown Louisville. There's also a soundstage in Lexington and one in development in northern Kentucky. We don't see ours as being the only stages in Kentucky, but the first Class A stages to be marketed worldwide. Our vision is that facilities like this and the ancillary businesses that the industry brings will soon be appearing throughout our Commonwealth. Unbridled Films and Poe Companies are proud to be the local partners and investors in this project. We know that with partners like Tony Guanci and Randy Kendrick of Sylmar Studios, as well as our local and state officials, the vision is clearer than ever. And now, the big visionary, the original visionary, Tony Guanci, Sylmar Studios.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to thank Mayor Greenberg, Mayor Greenberg, Senator Stivers, some of the other folks that have helped us along the way here. Coming from California, you know, I continue to just pinch myself when I see a Republican Senate president and a Democratic mayor working so closely together to do something to improve the overall benefit of a state in the community. I mean, it really is, I really want to give you guys credit, because we don't see that where I'm from. We just don't see it. So let me tell you a little bit about Sylmar Studios, because I know a lot of people are trying to figure out, you know, what do we do and who we are. Sylmar Studios is the largest privately developed Class A, and I know Mary Kay mentioned that, and I want you to remember that, a Class A production facilities for feature films, television, in what we call the TMZ, the 30-mile zone of Los Angeles. It's a very important aspect of what makes the film industry successful, is that there's all these different classes of stage facilities that certain directors, certain content creators all need to have in order to make the film work. You saw a minute ago when the fire truck went by and it made that noise come into this building. A Class A stage in this room, you won't hear that fire truck. The acoustics will be such an important level that we can't be interrupted from production, et cetera. It's too costly to have those disruptions. So Sylmar, like I said, we're the largest privately developed facility. We have cutting-edge technology. We've worked with Spectrum to bring into our facilities networking that allows the productions to not only work in their offices, but to have the ability to do post-production, immediately review the shots that are being taken back at their headquarters. We work at Silmar with pretty much every major content creator. We are not content creators ourselves, we are real estate developers. We are also operators of facilities for the content creators. So the NBCs, the Paramounts, the Amazons, Apple, we know and work with all of them. We also have the best in class. We've developed with NBC some of the best light and grip equipment so that the lighting, like I can feel the heat coming off of these lights here right now. There are being developed lights that are less effective. At Silmar, we work real closely to make sure and ensure that the industry stays up with technology. Physically, Silmar Studios Phase 1 is about 300,000 square feet of production stages, similar to what you'll see on this board. About 120,000 square feet of office space. With each production, you need to have a facility for, like Mary Kay said, for the 100 people or 200 people that are working the film, they all come in and work there. They stay there throughout the shoot period. The attributes of a Class A stage I'll get to because it is very important. We are an A-level stage here. That's what our plan is, and that's going to be important to the folks that are coming in from the West Coast, to big content creators when they look for a location to shoot. Silmar Studios is part of the Trusted Partners Network, which is given to very few production facilities. In California, one of the big things that a production needs to get is the ability to get the incentives. Well, with this new tax program, the incentives will be increased if you work in a certified A-level stage. So that's what the Trusted Membership Program is. And finally, recently, the LA Business Journal, I'm pretty proud of this, they awarded us the Community Impact Award for what we did in the city of Silmar, transitioning and transforming an area that was in an opportunity zone, similar to this, rundown. It had a lot of issues, and we worked with our team, with the police department, with the city, with the mayor, with the city councilwoman, and we were fortunate enough to transition the community. If you go there today, you'd think it never was anything but what you see. So we're pretty proud of that. So that's who Silmar is, quickly. Let me tell you what's going on here, because I know a lot of people are interested. They say, well, nothing's happened. It doesn't look like anything's been taking place. Well, to the contrary, a lot has happened here, and a lot is going on. Since the last time we spoke, and we had signed the development agreement with the city, we've done quite a substantial remediation of environmental issues that you may not see, but as you walk around the building, we can point out, you know, the asbestos and the PCBs and the things that were contained. This is an old building, and a lot of things have happened with this building over the years. We've also applied for state and federal historic tax credits. This is a national historic building. Our goal, and my commitment, is to bring this building back to what it was when it was originally built, when it was built in the late 1800s, early 1900s. We've also applied for a remediation tax credit. It's a special program that the state has that we've also applied in order to help with the major renovation and what our plans are to the building. We've had, and you may not have seen it, but we had a group of acoustical engineers out here, and they were laying out microphones throughout the neighborhood so that we could understand what was the noise and how often does it happen. When does the bus go by? When do those airplanes fly over? When do the fire trucks go by? Try to get some idea of that, because like I said, we need to understand what we do to the inside of this building in order to make it a Class A stage for certification. We've also hired our team. Luckett and Farley, a local Louisville architect, is our architect, that will handle pretty much the adaptive reuse section and process throughout for the facility. But also we've hired Ginsler, who is the largest architect when it comes to Class A production stages. So Ginsler will be doing the interior work on the new stages. Luckett and Farley will be doing the majority of the other work. We've also hired Calhoun Construction for rough order of magnitude and pricing, because as we go through this building, and we're going to show you some of the things that we have found, things that you probably don't even know exist. The plan for the building is this floor that you see out here is going to be taken out. Because of the bow trusses and your requirement to have certain heights, when you bring the walls up to the bow, the deeper you can go, the larger you can get your stage area. So this floor is going out, and we're actually breaking through the basement floor. What we found is that underneath the basement, there's a series of tunnels. And these tunnels, we're not sure what exactly they were used for. There was a shooting range in here at one time. There was a swimming pool. It could be a number of things, but we have to figure out where they are and figure out how we're going to fill those in. We've also found that the wall on the north side of this building, when you walk outside, is bowed. So it's bowed actually out about 18 inches. So structurally, what is the integrity of that wall, and how do we overcome and fix whatever that is? And then just the fact that this is a 100-plus-year-old building, there's just things you have to investigate. You have to understand the integrity of the steel. You have to understand the integrity of the walls. That just takes time. But we are doing it. We are proceeding. And quite honestly, if everything goes according to what we believe and we're successful with all of our our historic tax credit requests, I don't want to promise, but I would say that it's very, very, very possible that we could start construction by the end of the year on the actual new facility, on the new work. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I don't do this very often. It's not something that I normally handle, but I want to thank, again, everybody. Oh, by the way, I'm very happy. My business partner, Randy Kendrick, who unfortunately couldn't be here, we're very, very, very happy to be partnering with Mary Kay and Steve, the city and the state. But we look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. We are excited to be back here when the construction starts. I know from my life before being mayor how challenging it is to renovate historic buildings and bring them back to life with a new purpose. And when you have one this large and this challenging, it takes some time, but it is well worth it, and it will be a world-class project when it's done. And finally, I would like to introduce, as you've heard today, a champion of the film industry, a strong supporter of our city of Louisville, even though he is not from Louisville, but he has spent a lot of time here. Someone who we work with very closely on building this industry in our city and across the state, and so many other things to move Louisville and Kentucky forward. Please join me in welcoming our Senate President, Robert Stivers.
Thank you, Mayor. I always like going last because I get to hear what everybody else says. So when Tony talks about coming from California to Louisville, it's kind of like me coming from Manchester to Louisville, a little bit different. But no, I want to say this too. I listened to what the mayor said. He said this was the beginning of one of the craziest things you've ever done. Watching the Beastie Boys, I thought that's probably what caused him to break the guitar out at Bourbon and Beyond. But no, let me talk about this. This is my 29th year in the legislature. Yes, I'm from Manchester and Clay County, urban-rural divide, working together, setting politics aside, trying to figure out what drives this state to bigger and better places. And so this, to me, is probably one of the best examples in my career of how, with Susan Witten, who is one of our state reps, along with the House leadership, Senate leadership, Republican and Democrat, we passed a bill this year because working with our legislature, Secretary Noel, and I can't say enough about his group, Katie Smith, who's leaving you, how we put together language
because talking over a 2-year period about this, and literally it was about a 2-year period, Secretary Noel, I went to him because this is not a ballpark I play in. And the Secretary said, look, you give me the tools, we'll make it happen because we have a lot of different things to do. So a lot of discussion with the Secretary's office, a lot of discussion with our members in the House and Senate, a lot of meetings in and around the state. As Mary Kay said, there's 80 counties that have been filmed in. And so when this kind of popped out and we were talking about it, all of a sudden you hear, well, we've had 8 shoots in Menifee County. Wait a minute, there's going to be a large soundstage built in northern Kentucky. Ms. Wrigley Miller and starting her group in Lexington. Philip Wheeler, who actually managed the bill, said, hey, my mayor from Louisville, Kentucky, talked about how they just finished filming the Ghost of the Big Sandy. Well, the Big Sandy is a tributary into the Ohio River between Ashland and Pikeville. So what better way than to come together, especially with our largest city, working with the mayor and his group to develop something that not only will create jobs and create a different dynamic and opportunities than to do something with the film industry. We have the incentives, we've changed the incentives, but we need to give the Secretary the tools and the board and the commission to make sure it goes out and recruits the right people, brings the dollars here, creates the dynamics and the collaboration between the workforce, between the creative people who want to come here, to have the infrastructure. And since this has passed, it's amazing to me all the contacts who have started to reach out, even though we're really not up and running, about the opportunities here. Mary Kay made one statement. I don't mean to correct Mary Kay, but I'm just going to add on to what she said. Direct impact was $200 million by the Louisville study. Indirect impact was closer to $150 million without this place having the infrastructure and the commission to do what it needs to do by educating the public, going out and recruiting. So you can see when you have this, the mayor, the legislature, executive branch, people out in the state, rural-urban divide, no longer there, building the bridges, how this is probably, in my career, one of the better things I've seen about a cooperative nature in creating things to happen. Not just for our largest city, which needs to be healthy, fiscally healthy for the state to be strong. Not just for them, but for the whole state. And so I want to kind of conclude with this. When you think about the opportunities here, the really good framework for how this is developed and what you're going to see, and Susan and I were sitting here and saying, man, that's a really cool picture. That's going to be a great skyline for Louisville. You got a great skyline coming about across the river. You're going to have a great skyline out here that's going to have photography and all the different things about it. And that's another thing the film industry brings. They bring iconic shots that people will remember, and this is, I kind of left this out, the Tourism Commission really got engaged in this because they know when places are seen in films that people decide they want to visit there, they want to see those places. And it brings a tourism dollar in here that was unexpected, well beyond that of the film that was done here, employed people here, but it advertises our area. So the last point I was going to make, and I want to make this. You know, Secretary Noel, you used Muhammad Ali and what he talked about being a champion. I'm going to quote Carrie Underwood and Ludacris. Champion, the champion that they sing. And in the middle of that, P is for perseverance. That's part of a champion. The champion of this project for over 10 years, and I really want to again say to her, thank you. We need to give her a round of applause for her championing this project and the perseverance she has had, is Mary Kay Poe.
Thank you so much, President Stivers. Thanks to your colleagues from the legislature, Representative Watkins, Representative Whitten, Councilman Herndon. Thank you all also for joining us and for your support of the film industry. It is greatly appreciated, and we're excited about where we're going from here. And with that, we are all happy to take any questions that members of the media might have, and then we want you guys to take a look around. Yes.
Tony, you said that construction is expected to start hopefully by the end of this year. Do you have an estimate on how long it would take to get everything up and running if construction did start, and about how much that would cost in total to get everything that you all want done in this space?
Yeah, it's construction cost, we estimate pretty close to what we had said, in the $70 million range for the adaptive reuse of the space and the rebuilding of those two stages. Construction, it really depends. When you start dealing with historic historic buildings, it's not what you see, it's what you don't see that you have to deal with. So we're estimating 2 years, probably 18 months to 2 years that we have it completed. And we'll have further updates as we get closer.
The development agreement contemplates a community benefits agreement. Can you address what that would entail?
Yeah, I mean, well, there are a lot of community benefits that you've heard us talking about here today, particularly when it comes to job creation. The number of new jobs that are being created every time a new film comes to town is very significant. And one of the key things about this project is it will have a permanency to it. There will be people who will not come here briefly or will not do this and something else, but because of these sound stages here, these Class A sound stages, we will be able to create whole new permanent professions with good paying career path jobs in many of the industries that Mary Kay talked about earlier. So that's going to be one of our big focus areas, but we know that's already going to happen.
Question for Tony. You've got a lot of experience with places like this. When this is done, what sort of potential do you see for this facility in this place?
Well, I can tell you from recent experience, when I'm in California and we deal with a lot of the major studios, a lot of the studios are asking me about Louisville, Kentucky. They're asking me, tell me a little bit about it. What is the city like? I haven't been there. I understand the Kentucky Derby is there. I understand there's this bourbon thing, but that's the extent of what they know. I do tell them that, the shooting ability here is you can capture any environment, any scene that you want to have, not only inside our facilities, but outside. You can be in a rural area, you can be at the river, you can be at, make it appear like it's downtown, in New York if you wanted to create that environment. So I think that everybody that I'm talking to and seeing is asking a lot of questions about Louisville. There's already an existing base here. They have a lot of creative people. There's a lot of films that have already committed to coming here. And I think the thing that's stopped the numbers from being larger is that there hasn't been the infrastructure. It's very expensive when you have to not only create a film and get financing, but fly all your crew in, fly all of your infrastructure in, because you don't have a facility that can handle that. And that's what this is meant for. Hopefully I answered that.
Talk about maybe putting some sort of museum on site, preservation of the Black Box Theater. Is that still in the works?
Yeah, that is actually. A couple of things. We didn't talk too much about it, but this lobby will be totally changed because this was added on for the arena itself. But that section on that side will actually be a museum that we'll talk about, and we're actually going to reach out to the community because I've been here a lot of years. Some people know that. I've been coming here for about 16 years, being on the board of Danny Wimmer. Danny Wimmer Presents. I was one of Danny's first investors. So I hear from everybody in experience, like Senator Stivers just said, and the mayor, and everyone's had some experience here. I'd like people to be able to give us those experiences, use this as a place to have all that in one area, and then talk about the history of the events and the things that took place here. Also, the pipe organ, which we'll show you, which is back here, the wooden pipes and the organ itself, we plan to bring in, put in this room so it's not hidden back here where it is. So yeah, there will be a museum on this in the lobby somewhere. We just don't have it designed yet.
Can you update the Status of the KDI program, is there still a pause on that, and just where does that go from here? What kind of scrutiny is that program getting right now?
I wouldn't call it scrutiny. I would call it the evolution of continually looking at ways of making the program better and stronger. And as we announced a couple of weeks ago, I think actually last Thursday, we have put in place an emergency regulation to better define the process by which we can look at the film incentives that are being presented to us through application. We are now accepting new applications for the month of June, and we're looking forward to those applications. And quite candidly, we're looking forward to a very seamless transition from our administering the program to turning it over to the Film Leadership Council, getting an executive director in place, and then we will work with the groups to make sure we maintain the compliance. So I see nothing in terms of doing anything different than it's an evolution and better defining the opportunities. There is one element to a refundable credit, and it's the only refundable credit in the state of Kentucky that I'm aware of in our cabinet, and that is the legislature put a cap where you can only have $75 million of these credits. And this program has grown so far, so fast, with so much interest, that in the month of April, even with the legislature removing a complicated $25 million additional cap that had to wait till later in the year for serial types of productions, we would have gone through all of those available credits that month. That's why we put a temporary pause. And part of this is, and I want to make this very clear, it was to make sure that we also could give to the taxpayers the best return for the best applications to go after some of those allocated credits. Further, I didn't want to have a situation where the new Film Leadership Council came in and there were no more credits for the balance of the calendar year. That's not right. So we felt that this pause would give us a time to kind of reflect, look at ways of strengthening the program, and then be able to make sure that the handoff is not only with administrative issues, but there's still available credits that can then be awarded. And furthermore, this regulation that we put in place is not stipulating that this is how it shall be done going forward. It's in place until the Leadership Council and the new executive director can look at what we've done, look at the history, and they will then decide if there are other adjustments and programs that need to be looked at. But I will say this. We put in place some guidelines where we're going to favor projects that come in that employ more Kentuckians. We're going to favor those projects that already have a channel or an outlet that we know that this production can be seen. We're looking for more ways to make sure that the amount of funding that is going in a refundable tax credit is benefiting all of the communities in which they are shooting. So we've heard from a lot of film producers, they applaud and support those changes, and they also further, I think, are excited about the new leadership team and the adjustments that will be made thereafter.
Can I make a comment on that? You know, Secretary, this is something we're talking about, the discussions we've had. The $75 million cap is there, but what we were seeing by watching this was that people were being awarded into the cap, but we're not using that. And I think over the last few years, even though we were in the $50, $60 million range for awarding, there was only actually using in the $20 million range. People were getting awarded, but then holding, freezing the rest of the ability to award those because they had been awarded until you couldn't see whether or not they were going to be used. It created a wrong problem, but kind of a bad logistics problem. And so there's been a lot of discussion about how this should be used, and the way they've handled this and the transition is really good, but I want people to understand an award doesn't necessarily mean they've used it. And we were seeing a lot of people being awarded but not using the incentive.
One more question, if there's one.
Can you talk about plans for the block next door, what's going on there? I see some new imagery here.
Oh, with the parking lot?
Yeah.
And the other?
Yeah, right now, when you have a production, you'll see a couple of things on the plan. Originally, when we showed you the plans, we were contemplating maybe smaller stages, but again, as we had further conversations with the big content creators, a need for bigger stages. You can always fit a small production in a large stage. It's pretty hard to do it the other direction. So we decided to put 2 stages. Originally, all the stages were running in the north-south direction. That's now changed because we find it much easier for us because you're going to need a place for star wagons and for crew and all those things. The stages are going to run east-west. and there's going to be elephant doors placed on the east side of the building so that you can bring your equipment and things into the stages directly off of Armory. With that comes your base camp. If a production comes in, assuming we get a TV series or a pretty decent film, they're going to bring with them probably 50 to 100 vehicles. So you need a base camp for everyone to store their equipment, for dining, for your crew meetings, all those type of things. So that's what's contemplated in these photographs that shows I call it the Cedar Street building and the Cedar Street lot. If in the future, we hope that we have a need for expansion, that's what this final thing, that's the final map that's showing over there. We've got built in the ability to fit 3 more stages on that side of it, and then have a mini campus to service whatever else comes in. That's what that is.
Thank you all very much. I hope you enjoy what you see, and we're excited about the future for the Louisville Gardens. Thank you all very much.